Hello everybody, we're actually back with the 8940 and I think I've discovered the issue with the strange deck behaviour. Doesn't seem to be anything Syscon related, but it is to do with this arm here. So this arm should come across like so, activate that micro switch, which in turn releases this arm down here, which allows you to then eject the cassette. Because this micro switch isn't activating, the system does not know that it is at the end of its lacing process, or the end of its delacing process. This will keep spinning, trying to bring the tape back in, and obviously eventually there will be a condition where this motor will go high in resistance, I guess, and Syscon will shut the system down, and then you'll get the characteristic flashing of the LEDs on the front when you try to press a function button, because the system has gone into a shutdown fault condition. So what I'm going to try and do is first off remove this, then I'm manually going to pull back one of the loading arms which activates this. And once I've got that loading arm pulled back, I'm going to reinsert the motor, and hopefully that'll lock it into position and it'll actually automatically wind back to that level. So hopefully that'll get it synchronized. Let's take a look and I'll be back shortly. So my original problem started after I replaced the load motor drive belt, and what I noted after doing some research, and thanks to everybody's help on here, when you mentioned real sensors, I thought, okay, I'll Google 3V29 real sensors, and what I discovered was that the problem that I was experiencing had been experienced by someone else, whereby they would go in out of standby, which we're in at the moment, and the rewind spool would basically start to rotate slowly, which is exactly what mine was doing. So they traced their fault to a micro switch underneath the deck. That micro switch is actuated by this post here, which locks into an arm underneath here, which activates the switch, and that tells Syscon that the machine has fully unlaced. So what was happening was this was ever so slightly forward, so the machine was never fully unlaced. If I flick it on now, which I've just done, as you can see there, it's no longer rotating, and because all of the internal arms are fully retracted, my eject is working. There is still a problem with the damper. I've actually tried replacing the rubber idler on there, but it's possibly a little bit too big, so it does seem to be causing some issues. So let's pop in a cassette. I don't mind if this one gets destroyed, really don't. And let's try. So there's fast forward, that's now working properly. Go straight into play. Working better, but I've still got a problem with the take-up spool torque, so I need to sort that out. As you can see now, it's not constantly trying to rewind, and it now ejects properly. So from a Syscon perspective, I think we're sorted. Let's try pressing rewind, which is this one. So yeah, there's definitely a problem with the torque on the idler, so I need to sort that out. It may actually come back with a few exercises of fast forward and rewind, so we're certainly going to give that a go and see what it does. May also be I need to realign the cassette tray slightly, so I can give that a go as well. But anyway, thank you everybody very much for your assistance. We got to the bottom of the problem. Thank you very much, see you soon, and take care. So this little thing here is the air brake, which is used for the tape loading cradle. And this one was all bent, so what I've done is I've straightened it. I've had to rejig this little wheel here so that it's sort of as straight on as I can get it onto the spindle, And what seems to happen now is when you gently press on it, like so, and this is what the rubber idler would be doing inside the on the cradle itself, is it spins this little fan, and that dampens the ejection effect. When you're loading, the idler is actually retracted out of the way, so when you push it down, you're not actually exerting any force on this little arrangement here. So what I need to do now is to refit it to the cradle, as you can see here. So there's the idler. When you come to press this down, this idler here does actually come out of the way. But the little fan sits there. You can see the little sort of protruding point there. It locks onto that, screws into there, and hopefully, as I've replaced it with a reasonable idler, it should work. Anyway, let's get it back together and see how we are shortly. So unfortunately, I've actually discovered another issue, and it looks like over the years the idler wheel has become very brittle. So when any exertion of force is put against it, it seems to be sort of cracking right at the very edges. So in order to protect the little fan from further damage, I'm going to remove it and just have the machine operate in a I'm going to have to carefully retract it sort of method. I could also remove the idler as well, which might be more sensible, as then I can sort of go about trying to find I might actually have one in another machine, say one of the Sonys, which I don't use, one of the spare Sonys. I may actually have an idler which may actually fit into there. So we'll remove this. It's just a simple circlip holding it in. We'll leave that in place because that's all okay, and we'll just have to, from now on, just be very careful when opening the lid. Otherwise, it will just shoot up and try to put the tape into orbit. Anyway, let's get that sorted, get the machine reassembled, and see if my work on the idlers and general cleanup has restored proper playback. So there we go, after a few rewind and fast forward cycles, we now have a unit that seems to play back okay. So if I do a fast forward search, that's fine. Let's check the rewind search. I haven't actually checked that one yet, so yeah, a little bit sticky still on that one. But I'm not going to disown it because of that. Pause is fine, and there's also pause frame advance as well on this deck, which is quite cool. And that's about the only trick function there is, to be honest, apart from the forward wind and rewind search. But I've had it connected up to a TV yesterday and it worked absolutely fine. But for now, I'm going to give it a bit of a reassemble, and then we're going to see how it is. I've also had, when I can locate it, there it is. The front panel has been drying overnight, so I glued it yesterday. And let's see if the buttons want to cave in immediately. So before they were sort of caving in at this corner, sort of coming away there. And they don't seem to be doing that today. So we can now get the machine put back together, and we'll go and take it for a real test drive. So you will join me shortly once it is back together. And after reassembly and a quick polish using some G-free car cutting compound and some auto finesse polish, we have managed to produce this sort of effect, which doesn't actually look too bad. The G3 was actually pretty good at removing a lot of the sort of ground-in grime, ingrained grime within the plastic, and apart from these sort of like blemishes here, which just seem to be age-related, it's looking pretty smart actually. Rather pleased with that. So the next step for me is to go and give this a bit of a soak-in test and see how she performs with the new belts, the realignment, what I've had to do, and a couple of other bits and pieces, including the full tape path clean I've completed. So let's go and give it a go. So here we go. Here is the 8940 running with what I affectionately call the TX10 Gear X Executive. People that know their cars will probably get that reference. People that also know their cars and know the Bang & Olufsen 7702 and the TX10 may also get the reference as well. But flicker size, which is basically introduced by the camera, the picture is really good. It's pretty sharp, it's free of noise, the sound is pretty clear. The often problematic switch here for the stereo audio monitor is working correctly, so it's actually mixing both channels together at the moment, I would assume. Unless, yeah, I would assume it would if it's going out onto a mono set. That would be dealt with by the SCART interface. So this is coming in over composite, and yeah, actually working pretty well. Colours are typical VHS, slightly washed out, not quite as good as Betamax, but overall the quality is, in my view, it's actually a lot better than a far newer VHS deck. But then again, JVC did build these decks really well. Anyway, that's another one saved, another restoration complete, and another pleasant addition to my collection. If you have found this video and series interesting, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you very much. Take care.